Thank you. I was really honored to be asked to read tonight to celebrate Rod. And the invitation was to either read a couple of your own poems or poems by another poet to somehow celebrate Rod. And I thought it would be mean of me to inflict my current work on Rod or anyone else. So I thought about the kind of themes that might be, that for me are linked to Rod. And one of the things that I think has been delightful about the tree reading series over the years that Rod's been involved has been the incredible diversity and breadth of poetic aesthetic that, that the series has seen. So I'm actually going to do a wild thing and read some American poets. And I'm going to read some poetry on some themes that I thought were particular to what I know about Rod. And so I wanted to read some poems about words. And I wanted to read some poems about love. And I wanted to read some poems about socks. And I wanted to read some poems about cooking. And so I'm going to read 3 poems, and you can find the themes for yourself. So the first poem is called Alphabet Conspiracy, The Alphabet Conspiracy, and it's by Rita Mae Reese, and in the book of the same name. And it begins with a quote from Wallace Stevens: "The word is making the world." It's a film strip afternoon, and we're all grateful to the humming projector in the middle of our desks, the closed blinds, the absence of a real adult. There's a vague promise of revelation from the title and the dark tree-lined streets, the voice calling from a house carrying within it our freedom not to answer. Inside another house, a little girl in a pretty dress is falling asleep at her father's desk, turning into Alice in Wonderland as her mind falls down the rabbit holes of grammar. The Mad Hatter and Jabberwocky tell her to lure the letters into a trap so they can beat them to death with mallets. We'd like to see that. Without words, no one could tell us what to do. We know grammar is just a byproduct, like schizophrenia, of a brain that grew too fast for its own good, and that history is a series of conspiracies by accidental despots. Mrs. Bradford is falling asleep on the wide window ledge, her blue polyester pants gapped to reveal her white socks and pink spotted shins. We try not to look. The Mad Hatter doesn't say that the alphabet was first used to keep track of property, or that for centuries people believed if women learned to write, the lost world would never be recovered, or that the Mayans believed outsiders wrote things down, not in order to remember them, but to free themselves into the work of forgetting. That year, Mrs. Bradford taught us about the Lewis and Clark expedition over and over again. We never learned why it mattered so much to her or what possible use it could be to anyone. The professor tells Judy about the thousands of words Arabs needed for camels and their parts, the dozen words Eskimos had for snow, and a chimp who learned 7 human words. A voice made visible says, magic is a matter of fact to you. Every miracle has to have its qualifications, reservations, footnotes, and our heads rise from our desks. The rest of the year will be a series of substitute teachers who teach us nothing but footnotes and their own reservations. Mrs. Bradford dead of a brain tumor. We sit in our grade 6 desks with the blinds closed against the tree-lined streets as the letters of the world rise up and, forming a single word, eclipse our world and fill our mouths with shadows. This next poem is by a poet by the name of Joe Mills, and it's called How Do You Know? How do you know if it's love, she asks. And I think if you have to ask, it's not, but I know this won't help. I want to say you're too young to worry about it, as if she has questions about Medicare or Social Security, but this won't help either. You'll just know is a lie, and one truth, when you still want to be with them the next morning, would involve too many follow-up questions. The difficulty with love, I want to say, is sometimes you only know afterwards that it's arrived or left. Love is the elephant, and we are the blind mice unable to understand the whole. I want to say love is this desire to help even though I know I can't, just as I couldn't explain electricity, stars, the color of the sky, Baldness, tornadoes, fingernails, coconuts, or the other things she asked about over the years, all those phenomena whose daily existence seems miraculous. Instead, I shake my head. I don't even know how to match my socks. Go ask your mother. She laughs and says, I did. Mom told me to come ask you. So the last poem I'll read is by a poet by the name of Ron Padgett, and it's a poem called The Love Cook. Let me cook you some dinner. Sit down and take off your shoes and socks and, in fact, the rest of your clothes. Have a daiquiri, turn on some music, and dance around the house, inside and out. It's night, and the neighbors are sleeping, those dolts, and the stars are brightly shining, and I've got the burners lit for you, you hungry thing. Thanks, Rhonda.